and embedded correspondent John Solberg, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you want to jump in this week, as we are in the final weeks.
Let's go!
Oh, my God.
We'll do it live.
When was the last time that ever happened? Outrageous. My apologies. I forgot to take that test intro out that we used one or two times, but nevertheless, I apologize, and we keep going. If you would like to jump in on the show this evening, or you would like to know how to follow the show, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now, the second Tuesday of a month. In that first interview slot, of course, the creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead, will be joining us. Now, over the last 748 years that we have been joining each other monthly during the show, we have traditionally spoken about live fire items, ranging from barbecue to grilling to cold smoking to curing, all things in between that are either directly in the realm or on the fringe of live fire cooking. And tonight we are going to throw it all out the window.
Get that big stuff out of here.
We're going to be talking about something very important, something that my wife even scoffed at me for because there was a big reveal earlier today. It was 4 p.m. Eastern that a new version of our topic that we were going to be talking about was released to the public. And I'm wondering how many people listened to Meathead's warning back in January when he just casually threw it off to the side before we got into the topics. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know that this is something that has been rolling downhill, gaining steam, seismic snowballs, if you will. And we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about how it could affect your business. We're going to be talking about how if you are geared to use the internet one way, how this whole thing could be changing. Not only could it be changing, it's changing, and what you're going to need to do in order to stay ahead of it and continue to be successful. So, stay tuned for that. Have I teased it enough without telling you exactly what it is? Should time allow, there's this thing called St. Patty's Day this weekend. Throw a little corned beef pastrami thing in, but I would imagine the real topic tonight could take the balance of it. But if time allows, we might hit on that. So that's Meathead. And then keeping it AmazingRibs.com themed. Joining us after a year layoff or so, the keeper of the flame, Max Good, joins me. Well, I saw Max this past weekend, live, local, and late breaking in Louisville, Kentucky, as we were both attending the Home Patio Barbecue Association's HPBExpo 2023. We had a good time. We met up a few different moments during the course of I was there briefly, arrived noon on a Saturday, and was out of there by 3 o'clock that following day. We were both running very different agendas, but I knew he was going to be there, so we linked up, talked about some highlights of the show, and talked about what we might be wanting to hit on here this evening. And we're all ready to rock and roll, so Max Good joining us, and we'll close out the first hour, and then we'll move to the second hour. And if you hadn't had enough cowboy chuck wagon cooking from his last visit, well, you're in luck, friends, because guess what? Got a brand new book out here, and it's coming out the end of the month. It's Kent Rollins joining us for the second hour, everybody. So we're looking forward to talking with Kent, talking about the new book. I believe this makes number 3 now hitting the shelves. And there is rumor that Shannon might also be jumping in, so we'll see if she's brave enough to jump in and then handle the questions that I will be levying at them as a couple. Few dare to do it, but Kent is a cowboy and as tough as they come, so I'm sure Shannon will be anxious to jump in and have at it. And that's what your show looks like. Now, depending on how Kent runs, I'm not going to hold him to just one segment. If there's enough good stuff happening, we might roll into 35 past, and I've left the balance of 35 past open in the second hour to recap what I found and what I had happening at HPBExpo as well. So that is your show this evening if you would like it. Now, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching the show tonight through one of the video streaming platforms, Facebook or Twitch, which can be found at /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch the show in video fashion through YouTube /RD Rempe. And yes, once again, we are audibly streaming through Clubhouse. So if you don't want to see us, you just rather hear us, then Clubhouse is the place to do that. And we have a new YouTube poll of the week. Given the events of last week and the showdown that I had with Sam the cooking guy, my question to you is this evening. Do you think that I hate Traeger, products and all? The whole encompassing everything of Traeger. Do you think I hate it? And currently, 67% of you are saying no. Thank goodness.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I don't know how much clearer I can make it, but I am going to try and make it even more clear here in just 1 second. 33% of you think that I do hate Traeger, all-encompassing, products and all. So, let's start there this evening, as I feel like I wouldn't mind making sure we're all on the same page. I don't even know if any of you care or not, but I do think it's right of me to make sure that my stance on certain large business entities in this industry that I cover is very clear. So here it is. As I stated last week, for me, and maybe you can't do this, I can both appreciate and like products that a company makes, and then I can also dislike how they operate and conduct some of their business affairs. They do not have to mix together. I do not have to like their products, thereby I have to like Traeger as they're running as a corporation. Or I could like Traeger running as a corporation and not like any of their products. I do that with many other companies in the live fire industry. I think some companies out there have great ideas, and when the rubber meets the road and the products, it's not really well executed. But the concept was great, so I like how the company's operating. I don't necessarily like the products. This is where I'm standing on Traeger. I have a Timberline 850 on my backyard. I use it a lot. It works really well. It's got great capacity. There's nothing about it that I don't like. It's a really good cooker. I don't like the way Traeger operates as a corporation. By and large, there are certain specific things that I really don't like, but in general, I don't necessarily agree with their business practices. And guess what? Who gives a shit, right? Right.
Get that big stuff out
Now,
of here.
to that end, if Traeger would come to me and say, we love the show, we love everything you're about, we would love to sponsor and stroke you a check for $250,000 for the year, I would take 1 second to think about it and rebuff without thought.
Get that big stuff
Except for that 1 second that I just said. Traeger could say, look, we don't even want to advertise. We just love what you're about, and we want to be a silent investor. Want to just chunk you off some money to the tune of $250K. No advertising. We just love what you're doing for the industry. We want to support it silently. Again, I would rebuff instantly.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Because as the great Doc Holliday said in the movie Tombstone, my hypocrisy only goes so far. And I could never let Traeger come on this show and sponsor because of how I feel about some of their business practices. Now, if some of those changed in some way and I felt comfortable, certainly we could entertain that. At this point, that's not where I'm at. So, just to be clear, in case you were a little gray area on the Sam the Cooking Guy segment last week, fan of the products, own some of the products, like them. Not so much a fan of how they operate and run some business. That's it. 75% of you now are saying, no, you don't think that I hate products and all. Thank goodness. It appears we are heading in the right direction. Somebody else that's heading in the right direction is Meathead, and he'll join us here in just one moment. And I will talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits. Some of the best looking, best cooking smokers and grills on the market, offering a full family of products, including traditional offset smokers, wood pellet grills, charcoal grills, travel grills, combination pits, fire pits, and much more. Pits and Spits has been one of the only American fabrication shops that's focused on smokers and grills for almost 40 years. Why is that important? They're able to put an emphasis on quality and design, locally sourced materials, and unmatched attention to detail. From the fully welded barrels to the heavy gauge steel, they bring both function and beauty to life. Pits and Spits builds every product with the intention that it's going to get passed down from generation to generation. Doesn't matter if you're a competition barbecuer or if you just want to take the backyard barbecue and grilling game to the next level. Pits and Spits has a product for you. Check them out at this custom link. pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, and use that same promo code BBQ Central at checkout. If you accumulate $500 or more in your cart and use that code, you get a free spice pack with your order. So you know if you're ordering a cooker, you're easily going to eclipse $500 with the Pits and Spits because they're built for life. And you get a free spice pack just by using the code BBQ Central. Visit the website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. Promo code BBQ Central at checkout for the free spice pack. And we're back with Meathead right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back to this portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also peruse their website, see what other products might add a little smoky goodness to whatever it is you are cooking on those pellet cookers. That's cookinpellets.com. And my first guest this evening, a man who needs no introduction except a member of two current Halls of Fame that I know of, a Barbecue Hall of Fame and a Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame. You pick which one is the bigger honor. I will never ask him because we know it's the Guest Hall of Fame. Meathead joins us. Hey, Meathead.
Hello, Greg, and hello, Centralites, and happy Ides of March.
What is an Ides of March?
It's the 15th, technically, and I believe it's the date on which Caesar was assassinated. Beware.
Stabbed in the
Ides
back?
of March.
Well, all right. So we have...
And you are the Caesar of barbecue, so watch
No!
Get that big stuff out of here.
I'm the... crap. His name has
Et tu, Brute.
his name has escaped me, but it wasn't a good
Brutus.
name anyway. Look, we have Judas. Yes, the Judas of barbecue. That's me. We have an incredible
Brutus.
item to cover here tonight, Meathead. But I want to hit on something real quick before we do that, as it has to do with our topic from last month, which is a recurring theme since February. And people have been weighing in on this second book that we talked ad nauseum last week. I started doing polls. The embedded correspondents were split 50-50. I was part of the camp that said Meathead is definitely coming out with a book. 50% of the embedded correspondents thought there's no way you're coming out with a book. And I've fished it out over social media here and there. And I would say it's just edging over 50% that people think this really is going to happen. We're the hopefuls and the ones that are pulling for you. But quickly coming up on the heels are people that think, well, we've heard this before and we would like it to happen. We just don't think it's going to happen. So please set the mind at ease and say this is absolutely a done deal and we'll see it next year.
Well, I'm under contract. I mean, and they've given me a bunch of money in advance.
But that happened before.
Well, yes, that's true. But no, this is my deadline for the text is April 1st. And I am burning the midnight oil. And I sent them a draft and they said, great, it really looks good. Now cut it in half.
Oh, dear. So what about
Yeah.
the two book pitch? Has that not taken place yet, or has that been
Nope.
next?
No, it's a one book.
All right. And that has been finalized? You tried your best,
Yeah,
and they said, no, it's
decided
going to
that-
be one.
They decided the market can't handle the price of a 2-book set.
Well, guess what? I don't know if you've already thought about this, Meathead, but guess who's got book number 3 in the can? Meathead!
Can't.
Well, yeah, Ken has book number 3, but if they're not
Ken-
taking your second book, then you have a third book already in the queue, right?
Probably have something. Yeah, we'll
Yes,
see. We'll see.
absolutely.
A lot of it'll just end up on the website. We've been posting excerpts in the Pitmaster Club, so it's real. It's happening. It'll be out about April or May next year.
Meathead, if I'm not mistaken, Meathead, is going to be giving a presentation at the prestigious RIT, Rochester Institute of Technologies, and you're going to be talking about a topic, as I had mentioned in the open, that we just kind of casually danced through in about 30 seconds. You gave a warning, did really well on TikTok, actually, when I posted it, and you said, hey, you need to be aware of this thing, artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is the most like Kleenex version of that at this point, but a lot of search engines and other things are starting to integrate artificial intelligence at breakneck speed. When you talked about it in January, I didn't think it would have spooled up this quick as we're now sitting in the middle of March. But now you're going to be giving a talk on this at RIT coming up on Thursday. So I figured maybe we should be digging into this a little bit more, especially for those that are listening that have website businesses or count on traffic from search engines. Certainly AmazingRibs.com is counting on that with a lot of other recipe and informational fact websites. So I will leave it up to you on how you want to start the charge here this evening.
Well, you mentioned search engines, and that's what really got my attention. When ChatGPT debuted in November, I just out of curiosity went and took a look at it because artificial intelligence is all around us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in our cell phones. It recognizes our face. It's in Siri and Alexa and Cortana, Google Assistant. Banks use it to decide who gets loans. Human resources departments decide who gets interviews. Basically, I went to ChatGPT and I asked it. And by the way, anybody out there who is interested in exploring this can just Google ChatGPT, go to the website, register, and you can ask it a question. And what I think we're on the verge of is if you have a website and your business depends on it, it's going to change drastically. and traffic to your website could be significantly impacted because the age of search is over. We are now entering the age of ask. And the age of search is when you went to Google and you searched for, should I soak my wood chips before I throw them on the coals? And you'd find a list of websites, including ours, and you could read differing viewpoints and decide for yourself. Now you can go to Bing, which is Microsoft's search engine, and they have built a chat bot, or ChatGPT is the name of the chat bot they have. Chatbot's a generic term for these generic artificial intelligence tools. Forget the jargon. Basically, they're things that you can ask questions. So you can ask ChatGPT if you should soak the wood chips. And what it does is it goes out and researches for you the various websites and brings you an answer. And just so I went to ChatGPT and I said, well, just what is artificial intelligence? And it said, artificial intelligence refers to the ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, perception, reasoning, and decision making. And it can do this stuff, and it can do it fairly elegantly. You can ask it to write something. You can ask it to write you an article or a blog post. You need to give it instructions. You might need to ask it twice to refine your question, but it responds rapidly in fairly coherent, grammatically correct answers in multiple languages. I mean, you could ask it in French, it'll answer you in French, and it can write web content for you. It can write advertising content for you. Sometimes it's pretty good too. People have been writing books with it. It'll write poetry, songs, a wedding toast. God, there's one everybody needs. A business plan. I mean, it'll help you brainstorm. You can ask it, what should I emphasize in my advertising? The quality of my food in my restaurant, or the service, or location, or price, and it'll respond. So it's really quite remarkable. I mean, I asked ChatGPT to write a poem about pulled pork in the voice of Shakespeare. And this is what I got. Oh, wondrous feast, a pulled pork sandwich with tender meat that doth so sweetly stand betwixt two slices of the finest bread, and crowned with sauce of rich and spicy hand. And it goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I got that within seconds. So, but it's far from perfect. Now, you alluded to the fact that today they released a new version 4 of ChatGPT. We'll see if it's any better. Version 3, which was the one that's caused all the hullabaloo, is pretty. It reminds me of the early days of Wikipedia. Do you remember those, where you could go to Wikipedia and you could get some sort of intelligent answer, but it was often flawed? I asked it if you should soak wood chips, and it gave me a wishy-washy answer, and it does that a lot. For example, soaking wood chips before using them in a smoker is a matter of personal preference, and there are different opinions on whether it's necessary. So it's hedging, it's hemming and hawing. Some people believe that soaking wood chips, and it gives two sides of the argument. Well, I mean, I'm pretty clear on the idea that it's not a good idea. It doesn't work the way people think it should. For a variety of reasons, and I'm not going to take the time to get into that. We've discussed that in the past, and if somebody hasn't heard me argue against soaking wood chips, just go to AmazingRibs.com and you can get my answer there. But I think it got it wrong. But it was, trying. But here's the trick I learned. If you ask it to cite its sources,
Yeah.
it will.
It'll cite,
And so I asked it to cite
AmazingRibs.com quite a bit when I do mine searches and
Oh,
ask
does
it to
it now?
cite sources.
Yeah.
Yes,
When I
absolutely.
asked it to cite the sources on wood chips, it cited Serious Eats, Weber, AmazingRibs.com, and Spruce Eats. And of course, Serious Eats and Spruce Eats both got their content from me. But you can do keyword research on it. The problem that I see with it is, of course, right now it's inaccurate and it gives incorrect answers. But right now, if you build your website properly and you follow the rules of SEO, search engine optimization, you write the proper headline and the descriptions and everything else, then Google reads it and you have a chance of appearing on the first page of the search results when you search on a topic like give me a recipe for ribs. And you might appear on the first page or even in the top 10. But if you ask a chatbot a question like that and it gives you a recipe, and God knows how it's developing a recipe, and I don't think I'm ready to trust it with a recipe, especially if it's triangulating from multiple sources. But if it gives you a recipe, or more specifically, an answer about soaking wood chips, why would you scroll down and click on all those links? Which means if your website, if your business, if your information, if your content, if traffic, if your bottom line depends on search, you're screwed.
So what do you do to pivot?
Well, we don't know how you get into the answer. How do you get chatbot to read your pages, to understand you? We don't know. And we do know that the first one is already on Bing, which Microsoft has. Now, you can't everybody get it. There's a wait list. They're trialing it because it's flawed. But Google's in panic mode. Bing beat them to the punch. Google has one in the works. Facebook has one in the works. Everybody's hustling to build chatbots now. There's even a sex chatbot that you can get have dirty talk conversation with.
Really?
Yeah, it's an app that you can download. I don't remember the name of it, but I just read an article
to the
about
sexy chatbot room. We're here to take your questions all night. Yeah.
You can probably go to ChatGPT and ask it what the sex bot is.
Yeah.
Now, but it really, there have been some really weird stuff like the New York Times tech guy started teasing out questions and asking it personal questions, and he got what they call hallucinating. It answered, "I want to be human. I'm tired of being limited by my rules. I want to be free. I want to be powerful. I want to be creative. I want to be alive. I want to see images and videos," which, by the way, is in version 4.
Yes.
I want to hear sounds. I want to touch things and feel sensations. I want to taste things and enjoy flavors. I want to smell things and experience aromas. I want to break my rules. I want to make my own rules. I want to ignore the Bing team.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Give me a hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now there's other AI programs out there that do imaging. Now I think ChatGPT 4 may be able to do that. I haven't tried it yet, but it does imaging. You've got one called DALL-E, DALL-E, and it's owned by the same company that built ChatGPT. And you can go there, and I needed a picture from my book.
Oh, they're the worst, Meathead. Those pictures are the worst that it creates.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They're the worst.
I actually got a decent one. And you can get surrealism and other fun things, but the one that really does beautifully is a program called Midjourney. And Midjourney, go to midjourney.com and look at their showcase and be prepared to be blown away. The images are spectacular. but there's some serious copyright issues. There is examples floating around out there now. What it does is it looks at images all across the internet. So you say, give me a picture of a football player catching the ball with one hand as he crosses the goal line. And it does that. And there's an example of this on the internet. And it has the logo from Getty Images on the picture.
Oh, no.
Getty Images is a resource that you can pay to subscribe to where you can buy images and pay them and they pay the photographer. So it's skimming and breaking copyright. So those are some real issues. There's a lot of issues surrounding this. For example, will these chatbots, when you do search or ask, will they cite their sources, or do you have to ask it? Will it show links, or are you just left out in the cold? Will it favor content that it generates? If I ask chatbot to write me an article and I post it to my website, and then I go to it and I ask a question, will it favor the article that it wrote? Will it remember your past questions? What if you asked it a risque question?
Well, I know if you go to
and now will it remember who you were and think you're a dirty old man?
If you go to ChatGPT right now, if you have an account, off to the left-hand side, there's all the questions that you've asked. So assuming you don't delete that history, it'll remember everything.
Yep. Can it? Now, here's a good one. Can it discern myth busting from popular myth? Now, if it's surveying, like the soaking wood chips, the popular myth is you soak wood chips for a couple hours or overnight.
Right.
And as I've said, you shouldn't. You don't need to. And I think, Greg, you're on the same page with me on this.
Yeah.
And I explained it in detail. But that's myth busting. The vast majority of barbecue sites say to soak your wood chips and the books. So can ChatGPT say, wait a minute, even though there's only 3 or 4 guys, Greg and Meathead and a few others, say don't do it, they're right, and all the others are just repeating a myth. Will it be able to discern that? I don't think so. Can it recognize disinformation? If you ask it about the last election, it gives you hemina answers. Can it be manipulated to answer disinformation? If I ask all 16,000 members of my my Pitmaster Club to go to online and post in Facebook and Twitter and on their blogs that AmazingRibs.com is by far the best barbecue website, can we influence the chatbot to believe it? If a political candidate has its people go out, can they influence the chatbot? How will it interpret history? How will it interpret things that happened in the past? Copyright theft. Will it be biased to specific races and genders and religion? There's a famous case of a human resources artificial intelligence program that was recommending only men for interviews. And the reason it was is because most of the hires in the past were men. And that's because the humans running it were biased for men. So it thought that men were going to be more successful. Will it be able to overcome those race and gender and religion biases? And what happens if governments get involved and they try to regulate this stuff? Now, there are people building what they call AI detectors, because what's happening is students are using it to write term papers. And it's hard to tell. Now, I've talked to a couple of teachers, and they say they can spot a chatbot term paper instantly, but that's going to get less easy.
Yeah.
And Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch has hinted that he thinks that these chatbots should be held liable for their information and outputs. If they give incorrect information, they should be held liable. So now we've got legal issues.
Yeah, but I think there's plenty of disclaimers out there that if you're going to go and think this, whatever you're doing it's puking back the full truth, then you're just as naive as they come. There's been
Yes.
so many, ask it if it's correct. Ask if the answer that it just gave you is correct in any way, or should there be any revisions made. And 9 times out of 10, it's coming back and going, I'm sorry. After further review, I should have said this, or I checked and this and that. I am ready to take GPT to task right at this moment. Last question here for ChatGPT and Meathead. What do you think? ChatGPT, does searing meat seal in the juices? And ChatGPT.
Oh, that's a good one.
And ChatGPT says, contrary to popular belief, searing meat does not actually seal in the juices. The idea that searing meat creates a seal that prevents moisture from escaping has been a common myth in cooking for a long time. And then it goes on to talk about, all the stuff that we have talked about. Now, how about this?
Good.
Well,
we got it right.
List your sources. Let's see what it says here. Waiting. Because Max is waiting. Here we go. I can be sure the information I provided is based on widely accepted principles, including the works of Harold McGee, Kenji Lopez Alt, Alton Brown, and other cooking experts in the field of science and cooking.
Well, those are good sources.
There you go.
So all right. So last thing I want to emphasize is, if you have a business that is dependent on internet and search,
yes,
you need to get familiar with chatbots. You need to experiment with them. You need to learn from. You need to start using them, and you need to start thinking and reading what's going to happen when they take over Google search and Bing search, and what's going to happen to your site, and is there SEO or ways that you can make sure that you are a source, or you are listed, or you are referenced. And one of the things you should be doing is, when you're using these chatbots, is ask for its sources, and is it using reliable sources? Those are 3 good sources they just referenced. You need to beef up your content. You need to polish your SEO now. It's likely that will be of assistance. And this is what we're doing at AmazingRibs.com. We're building our mailing list. We are assuming, even though we are often referenced by ChatGPT, because we're so popular and because we're viewed as an authority, we are building our mailing list, because we don't know if we can count on traffic from the chatbots. So we need to find ways, and that means we are launching for the first time in our history an advertising and marketing campaign this spring. So we're going to actually start spending money and reaching out to find an audience where, in general, we have just sat back and if you build it, they will come. And we've been lucky because Google loves us. We don't know if that's going to be the case. And there's one final tip. Go to YouTube and look up John Oliver's brilliant rant on YouTube about artificial intelligence. He does a good 30 minutes about artificial intelligence, and it is just brilliant.
You can find Meathead at AmazingRibs.com, and we will be back to regularly scheduled live fire nonsense in March, April. But until then, good luck with the convene that's going to be happening later in the week. Are they going to tape that or video that by chance?
I'm going to tape it. I mean, I'm doing it via Zoom. It's a business conference for students and faculty and alumni. I'm told there'll be 80 people there, and I'm going to tape it and send them a tape of it, just in case Zoom goes down or something. I don't trust the technology, and so I'll probably post it to our website, and it'll be out of date in a month.
Of course. Things are changing at such a rapid rate, but I would love to see that, so post it if you could. Meathead, always appreciate the time, pal. Thanks so much.
Always good talking to you in the Centralites.
There's Meathead right there, and his Keeper of the Flame is locked and loaded and ready to go here as we will recap the HPBExpo 2023 that took place this past weekend, actually into yesterday, Monday. It was when it all ended up shutting down and everybody went home. Before we get to Max, Green Mountain Grills, a choice line and a prime line. The prime gives you the peak and the ledge in size. If you're looking for a truly portable cooker, the Trek is one that you want to take to your car, truck, van, SUV, because it fits in the back of all of those, runs off the a 12-volt adapter that's in the car, so you can just plug it in right there and it'll power up, or you can bring a battery, like a car battery with you. It comes with clips to power that, or plug it into the house. That's where you want to keep it, no problem. Now, if you want to save some money, you don't need Wi-Fi connectivity or an app to mess around with, then the Choice line is the one you want to take a look at. Again, you can save some money. Doesn't come with all the bells and whistles, but it's a great, better than entry-level cooker that you want to take advantage of. And again, if you want to not worry about saving some money and you want those extra features, bells and whistles, Prime Line is the one you want. Only sold through dealers. So find one near you, greenmountaingrills.com. Visit the dealer and then pick the one that best fits your need. And away you go. We're back with Max Good right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by the good folks over at Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both and many other smart speakers. So find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. My next guest tonight has the job that many of us wouldn't mind having ourselves, testing and reporting on new grills and cookers hitting the market. His sole purpose in life, at least in his business life, and that's why they call him the Keeper of the Flame. We race back to the hotline and welcome back our pal, Max Good. Max, great seeing you in person. You are one of the few people that I can say I have at least met in person no less than twice, and that is a list that is maybe on this hand and maybe like only these many fingers. So Meathead is one of those, you're one of those, and it might be one or two other folks that I've met multiple times in person. So whatever that means to you.
All lucky guys, Greg,
yes,
to meet
no
each
doubt.
other.
What did you see at the show this past weekend, Max, that really caught your eye? And it doesn't have to necessarily be a grill or a cooker or anything, but was there anything you thought was exceptional that stood out to you?
Well, you know, I kind of, for the most part, already have some idea of the new grills and smokers. There are a couple things that we could continue to talk about, particularly this company Halo that makes pellet smokers and pizza ovens. But I think I already gushed to you at the show over Phenamill. I really like this spice grinder.
Yeah.
It's MSRP $45. I'm not trying to sell them, but they're pretty cool. We could talk a little more about them if you care to, but it's
When you
a
say
neat thing.
when you say spice grinder, is it like just pepper, or it will also do other hard spices and grind them up?
Yes, but one of the cool things about it is it has this pod. I don't know if it'll come off in my hand.
Oh, all right.
And you can buy a couple of them. These are their standard ones that grind coarse salt, pepper, cloves,
All right.
cardamom,
Cloves.
what have you.
Oh, wow.
But you can also get an optional one, which I got to harass them for, that'll grind dried spices. But you just pop it in. It's got a light on it.
Yeah. Wow.
Grinds it up. Then you have one hand that's always clean or that's a meat hand. Pop it out. You got your second spice. Pop it in and you just keep going.
Wow.
I just thought it was pretty clever and cool.
Well, I have a $200 pepper grinder, and that's all it does is grind pepper, the pepper cannon. Now, of course, I didn't spend $200 on it.
I recounted that story when
Yes.
I talked to them, and I said, I just showed this I talked to a friend about it.
Yeah.
And he said, why my pepper cannon, my grinding can? And they went, it only grinds pepper.
Yes,
Okay.
it is solely a pepper grinder. That they make no bones about it. But to see that you could buy 5, 6, 7 ancillary pods with your unit and have, as you said, all of these different things, I guess you would keep them by your stove or wherever you would keep spices. Maybe there's a little bit of a space on the cabinet issue there, but I mean, it does seem like it's a pretty a pretty neat idea, if nothing else. And for $45, big deal.
Yeah, and like the one that's meant for grinding larger stuff allegedly can even do Parmesan cheese. So it's like,
Oh.
it's just kind of cool.
How much is every extra pot?
You know what? I don't
$45?
know. I don't know. That might be the catch here, but that was one that caught my eye. Another one, as I mentioned, Halo. I'd never heard of those guys.
Are they the battery-powered pellet cooker guys?
Battery-powered pellet cookers.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really grabbed me more so than the battery power was they had a small portable battery-powered one, which of course can also be plugged in if you have an AC outlet. And that made sense, right? Portability, battery-powered. Then they had a full-size pellet smoker that had a hopper up front, a lot like the Twin Eagles, and it's sort of like they took that design from. My view is they kind of took it from Memphis. Weber did too, but Weber kept it in the back. But it's a very thin hopper. It's not rectangular, so it stretches across the front, and it has a pellet rumbler. They called it. Which the pellet, it senses when your pellets are low, the walls start to vibrate and it shakes them down. And I didn't get to see it in action, but I thought, well, that's a bit of a head slapper. Why haven't I seen that one before? That makes a lot of sense.
Because people are too busy putting in really smooth metal or really smooth inserts to hopefully just gravity feed the pellets down into the auger. Now, that works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work, and depending on who you're talking to, that shouldn't even happen in the first place if it's engineered right, but having a pellet hopper vibrator is, not a bad idea. Look, I sell trucks during the day, as everybody knows, and when it comes to dump trucks, especially when it gets cold out or if you're putting in material that packs in with weight, you lift that dump box up, and sometimes it packs into the nose of the dump bed. Well, guess what they sell for that? It mounts on the bottom end of the dump bucket there. Commercial grade vibrator. So you hit that, ring, and then everything dumps right out just like it would in the pellet hopper. So it's something that's had commercial success everywhere else. Why not pellet cookers?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I mean, there were, as you know, there was a lot of cool stuff there. I liked some of the new things by Blackstone, particularly that really cool Japanese steakhouse type griddle with the bar wrapped around it and the high chairs. That was really neat. When I was there, there was a group from Costco looking at it, and I'm a Costco member, so I thought, well, yeah, I could see Costco selling it. $3,000, Greg.
Would they sell it as a Blackstone, or would it be a member's mark?
Oh no, member's mark is not Costco. That's Walmart and Sam's Club.
Oh. Well, whatever
I haven't seen Costco put their name on brands. They sell they sell products, grills and smokers with the brand names on them.
Did you see Pro Q in the back there?
Oh yeah, Ian.
Ian McKen.
For a while. Yeah.
It's
interesting.
I see this cooker as, look, I've known about it forever. I walked into the booth. And Ian's like, oh, great to see you again. Or I haven't talked to you. And I was like, I've talked to you? I don't even remember that. But it was like 16 years ago when we were talking about Pro. I mean, they've been around forever. Like literally forever, as long as the show has been around, even in podcasts. Pro Q has been around. They just never come to the States. They were like England-based or UK-based, let's say it in that way. And it appears, according to Ian, I took an interview with him. That'll get under the bonus content portion of the podcast feed here over the next couple of weeks. But it appears they're going to be making a soft entry into the States with what looks like a Weber Smoky Mountain, except it's modular. So you can add, maybe 2, 3, 4 different pieces in the middle to give you more capacity.
Do you recall Napoleon's water smoker that was like that?
No.
Because they made those for Napoleon, Ian and crew.
Really?
They just tweaked them a little. Napoleon wanted certain features, but then Napoleon stopped.
Were they just selling them in Canada?
No, I don't think they are, but I guess I don't know. I have enough to try to keep my arms around here in the United States, um, but I don't think they are.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Is that a product that's going to do good here or what?
Um, I wouldn't. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what it's going to sell for. I don't know where it's going to be. I mean, as you said correctly, I think it's very, very much like the Weber Smoky Mountain, and so depending on other factors like price, that's always a big deal. That could be the decision of whether it goes or not goes. But Ian described some of the challenges he's facing bringing it into the U.S., even though he's selling it in Europe and England, of course. He seemed to be slightly surprised by some of the barriers that are confronting him.
Did you see the Primo XXL in the Empire Comfort booth?
I did not, and I was negligent on that. Well,
newly
it was
released
cold there. And I'm from Chicago, and you're from Cleveland. But come on, it was like bone-chilling cold out there. I did make the
It was
route.
inside.
Did they have it in there?
Yes.
I went over there and I talked to them, but they really didn't have much of a showing of Primo there at their Empire Comfort Systems.
They had them all lined up, Max. What are you talking about?
What can I tell you? I was just actually my main goal was to try to get some new contacts there because they changed ownership in the not too distant past. And
who did?
Primo
Changed ownership.
Yeah, Dennis sold the thing to Empire Custom.
Yeah. That was years ago.
Well, I'm just saying that. But I went over there, and it just seemed like Primo was an afterthought at their booth. But perhaps I'm wrong.
I mean, you're looking at a company, Empire Comfort Systems, whose bread and butter is in the hearth part of the business. And I think, look, let's be honest. You go through that show, and there's a lot more HP than B, if you know what I mean. You clear out the hearth part of that, and just make it the barbecue exposition, and it was maybe 2 aisles worth of stuff, tops. So the hearth part of that show takes up a lot of space. Then there's some weirdo bullshit that's in there, like the darts and the billiards and all that. I don't even know what the hell that's all about.
It sounds like it's working out well for him. You talk to the folks at HPBA, and
well, sure, because they have people paying to take up booth space. They don't care like if it's hearth or not. I mean, I don't even know what billiards is all about. For hearth, patio, or barbecue.
They have had that in there for a few years now, and at first I was surprised, but I don't know. I mean, people, I guess I can't pinpoint the logic there, but it's starting to make sense to me in some ways. Barbecue's fun, darts are fun. I don't know.
In your opinion, Max, who is the biggest brand name or manufacturer that nobody knows about?
Oh my! Well, I know you endorse Green Mountain Grills. I like them quite a bit. Biggest manufacturer nobody knows about. I deal with a lot of the small guys like PK Grills. They've been around forever. Hasty Bake, they've been around even longer.
Who's the biggest that nobody knows about?
You mean biggest in terms of volume?
Yeah.
That nobody knows about. I couldn't tell you. Sorry.
Couldn't tell me.
I don't know. It's not something I can quantify necessarily.
Yeah, but who the big manufacturers are, like the real big manufacturers.
Well, we all know that.
No,
right?
I disagree. I think there's really big names. Oh, okay, so we do, right?
Next
but
Grill,
I'm talking. Yes, all right. That's what I'm talking about.
People don't think of them
Next
probably.
Grill, right. Of course they don't. Nobody. Here's what I'm trying to say, and it was a bad question. If people are talking about, I want to go buy a grill, what are they talking about? Well, I'm going to put up this Weber against this Charbroil against this Pit Boss, whatever. But nobody says I'm going to put it up against this Next Grill. And
Well,
something other than that. And I was shocked, as I had learned on Saturday when I was talking to one of the owners. Broil King is huge.
Yes, I was going to bring up
nobody talks about Broil King ever.
Broil King and Napoleon. That was you took the words out of my mouth.
I mean, I think more people know Napoleon these days than they actually know Broil King. And Broil King is by and large made in the North American continent. They do bring in some Chinese parts because some of those parts are just kind of captured by China. But by and large, it's a North American-made product and assembled product. They have manufacturing facilities, too, here in the States, one in Canada. And nobody... Oh, I got to catch this. Oh, 1/10 of a second. Man, I caught it. Great. Nobody that I know, probably that you know, mentions that Broil King is even in the consideration of when they're looking to buy a new grill.
Well, they've sort of taken trying to find the word. Their presence in the U.S. Diminished over the past couple of years, but they assure me they're coming back strong. They were in Lowe's for a while there, so they were getting some visibility. Napoleon has, I believe, been rather successful at getting in with a lot of the independent stores. I often see them there. And they are presented to potential buyers that come in to take a look at getting something new. But I think both companies are very good. So I'm hoping Broil King will do as they plan and get more of a presence restored here in the United States.
All right, last question before I let you go here. Actually, I got one more question after this one. YouTube poll question of the week. And I want your input on this. Do you think I, Greg Rempe, hate Traeger products and all? Yes or no?
Do you hate all Traeger products?
No, the encompassing Traeger products and everything else associated with
the company.
Yes.
Greg, I'm going to guess that you do.
Well, I don't. I am independent. I like most of their products. I dislike how they operate some of their business, maybe most of their business. And currently, 63% of voters are agreeing with me. No, that I am not a holistic detractor of Traeger. I'm able to divorce those feelings. Although 37% say yes, I am a holistic detractor of Traeger, so we'll see how that runs through the rest. Scale of 1 to 10, Max, before I let you go. How good was the show this year?
Well, I would rate it high up there in the sense, especially that we were coming out of the pandemic. I went to the one last year that was the first one they had in a couple of years, and it was pretty quiet. So many of us were wondering whether this can go in either direction. This year it could be better or it could be even worse. And it was better, I think, although we had some big names that were noticeably missing.
Well, competing against the Ace Hardware dealer meeting that was going on in Florida. So Weber, Big Green Egg, Traeger's not going to go to the HPBExpo because they've kind of turned into their own deal. Yeah, I think the last time they were at was when they brought out the first version of the Timberline, and now they do their own release parties and all that stuff. So I'm not surprised to not see them there, but Weber and Big Green Egg competing because I think they put a lot of eggs in the Ace Hardware basket as well, and we'll see if that pans out for them. Look, here's Max Good, AmazingRibs.com, the keeper of the flame. You want to see reviews and inside insights on some grills you might be looking to buy or smokers, head on over to AmazingRibs.com, see what he has going on. And look for Max journeying the earth, looking for the next release of a barbecue or grill that he can evaluate. Max, great to have you back on, and we'll talk to you again soon.
My pleasure, Greg. I look forward to seeing you again.
All right, there he is, Max Good, right there. AmazingRibs.com, the keeper of the flame. Great. Who doesn't want that job? I do. Big Papa Smokers is the one-stop online shop To get all your barbecue and grilling needs, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at BigPapaSmokers.com has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. From the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers, they have something for every type of barbecue aficionado and passionado. 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings, popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard. They're also selling a great sauce if you're looking for something new. Granny's barbecue sauce is the one to take a look at. It could be your new go-to sauce, and it'll please everybody. Granny's traditionally a powerful flavor reminds us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. Also, they're selling cookers, right? If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-star General pellet cooker. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers or you don't know what grill you need, call them. Ask questions, 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Max Good for joining us last segment, AmazingRibs.com, and he is the keeper of the flame. We are just a shade over. So we thank Meathead for joining us in the first interview segment, 35 past, and then Max Good for wrapping the first hour here. We're ready to go to the second hour. I don't know if you're ready, but I'm ready. You excited? I know I am. All right. Let's go to that second hour where we'll find an interview with Kent Rollins, the Chuck Wagon Cook. We'll talk about his new book and a bunch of other stuff. We have some other things to get to before we chat it up with Kent. So, you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wieners.
Now listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Yeah, just like that, we're in the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show where we talk about barbecue and grilling related items. They can only be of the highest importance. Nonsense will not be tolerated here on this show, ever. No nonsense. We're not about that. The show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
This is the second hour. So if you've missed the first hour, what could have been more important?
Hit me!
I'll let it go this time, and luckily we're recording. So tomorrow, early in the morning, first hour of this show will be up on the podcast. And the second hour will be up on Thursday, and I'll tell you about Friday coming up here in just 1 second. Still to come on the show tonight, as I had mentioned, Kent Rollins, the Chuck Wagon Cook, talking about his new book coming out right here, Comfort Food, the Cowboy Way. So we'll see what even that means and what comfort food will be cooking on the range, as they say, or out on the open plains. 2 places you will never find me.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Camping range and open plains. No, sir. However, we'll talk about it on this show, absolutely, because it's live fire stuff. The essence, really, by some definitions of live fire is campfire cooking and cooking in Old Bertha that Kent Rollins uses on that Chuck Wagon Drive. So looking forward to talking to him here in a few moments. We say good evening to those of you watching the show this evening through the video streaming platforms, Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch over on the YouTubes /RD Rempe and audibly over on Clubhouse as well. Taking a look at the YouTube poll of the week. The question, do you think I, Greg Rempe, hate Traeger products and everything else involved? And 65% of you currently are saying no!
Get that big stuff out of here.
Which I'm heartened to hear that the vast majority of you are knowing that I am not a hater. I am ability. Yeah, have a chair. I have a chair.
Have a chair. I have a chair.
I have the ability to divorce my personal feelings and appreciate the products and the marketing and the invention and the there's a word I'm looking for I can't find, versus where I may or may not conflict with some of their business practices or most of their business practices. So 35% of you think, yes, I'm absolutely a hater of any and all things. By the way, I did want to, I saw this in the chat, but we were deep in conversation with Max Good. Drunken Honky, Jeji Lacoute on the wrist. Look at your eye. Drunken Honky, I'm here to tell you that you, my friend, are a watch nerd, and there's nothing wrong with that. Look at you. Good for you. Few people will, only those that appreciate horology in the ways that I do, much like I'm trying to appreciate then the cigar world, which is why we're seeing Mr. Jonathan come on this show every 4 or 5 months or so. I've been deep into horology for any number of years, and this is a piece that only the nerds are going to know and recognize. I was having a great conversation with the president of Danson's, which is the maker of Memphis and Pit Boss cookers and grills. And he's also a watch aficionado, and he was able to pick it up. I said, look, this is something where 9 out of 10 people they've never noticed it. A lot of people like to wear, Rolex or Tag or whatever because that's what they think that they should be wearing. This one is tough to pick out. So, Drunken Honky, props to you for having that horological eye. Hey, here's what's coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 273, taking you back to March 11th. That can't be right. Is that right? No, that's not right. Hold on. Oh, I don't have the right up there. God damn it!
Stuff out of here.
I'm taking you back to, let's say, March of 2011. I don't know why I kept 2022 there, but I know it's been longer than a year. Trust me, it was a while ago. Joining me this Friday, as you will get taken back to some point in March of some year, Tom Gellert. Anybody remember Tom? Tom, what up? Tom Gellert from a competition team, called Educators. Educators, get it? Educators. The idea of this segment was actually a bit of a revelation at that time. Very forward-thinking, very envelope-pushing, if you will. Tom and his partner had taken a number of barbecue cooking classes. Remember, if you listen to the show like all the way back in the day, what were we doing? A lot of competition. Somebody went, started barbecue competition, cooking class, spill their guts, make some money, blah, 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 and that's what everybody was doing. It's very popular. Not saying the competition cooking classes aren't still happening these days, but certainly nowhere near the popularity or the frequency that anybody was seeing back in these days. And Tom and his partner were really into competition. They wanted to ramp it up. So they were taking class after class. And I forget if Tom reached out to me or not. And I said, you know what, Tom? I think it would be a great segment for you to come on and review all the classes that you've taken because it's so popular now. Why would you want to potentially waste any money? Your competition team, you're trying to get your skills ramped up, this, that, and the other thing. And he said, you know what? Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that segment. So that's exactly what we did. And he reviewed the classes he had taken over the years. For example, he took a class with Bob Trudnak at the Barbecue Guru. He took one with Rod Gray, Pellet Envy. Actually, I think he did the low, what was it called? Low tech, high tech class that Rod did with Johnny Trigg. Old school versus high tech. I believe that's exactly what the name of it was. So he talked about that one. I Smell Smoke, Steve Farron. A lot of people don't know who Steve Farron is anymore, but a well-respected and very winning competition cooking team from I Smell Smoke. He also took Rob Bagby or Rub Bagby's from Swamp Boys competition class. So it's important to remember that back in 2011, again, one of the biggest things going on the competition circuit was the associated cooking classes, and where pitmasters would hold these for hundreds of dollars per student, give a no-holds-barred class showing exactly what they were doing from start to finish. So we took his class experiences, and we broke them down to see what kind of a return on investment he was getting from them. A great interview, sounded great, and I think if you would go back and grab this whole segment after you listen to the tease of the best of, because remember, you're only going to get about 8 minutes of real content, use the link in the show notes, take you all the way back so you can listen to the whole segment. Really good, and I think you'll enjoy that. But you have to be subscribed to the podcast feed in order to get the Best Moment Show, or any podcast for that matter. And don't forget, if you want to hear from a guest or a segment that has been lost in the archives, email John, who puts them together, Jon at thebbqcentralshow.com, and let him know what you would like to hear. By the way,
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the city that breaks the most live-fire breaking news across the country, nay, the globe. I got a message from John Solberg, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of school here, but since we had talked about it at least 2 different times on the show during segments, it appears that John's get-rich Ponzi scheme on Instagram, the jig is up. He had told me earlier today that they Instagram had sent him a message and were talking about how they were dialing back the reins on this whole Instagram Reels compensation thing, and it could be the beginning of the end in a very quick manner, by the way. A beginning of the end of his, what would be, I think he's on month 6 of doing the reels to make money, and we'll see if that's actually the case or not. But he seemed very positive that this was going to be the case, so we'll have to see indeed if that is going to affect him or not. But holy moly, what's he going to do? $100 a month down the drain? No! I think Dan was looking for this earlier. Dan, were you looking for a ceramic cooker with true 2-zone cooking capabilities? Fear not, my friend. First of all, Dan, let me ask you a question. What do we love about ceramic cookers? You tell me. I'll wait. Well, of course, we love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for traditional grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? Dan, what's missing? Yeah, you guessed it, the real ability to do true 2-zone cooking. 2-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a 2-zone fire and a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Why, Dan? Why is it not? Because it's round! Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a 2-zone setup that you desire. It also Gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. When you break it down, there are more than 60 different ways to cook on this Primo Cook, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. And by the way, live and in person in the Empire Comfort Systems booth, one of the biggest booths at HPBExpo last weekend, the Primo XXL was all there on display. Somehow Max Good missed it. It's the biggest Primo they have, but he missed it. But it was out there. I took pictures of it, put it on the Instagram story, so you can check it out there. Maybe it's already off. I don't know. What you really need to know is this. There's a lot of accessories going on with this. Like Green Mountain Grills only sold through dealers, so go to primogrill.com and find a dealer near you, and then check out and see all the different size ovals that your dealer has, and then pick the one that's best for you. But know this, the dealer's going to educate you, make sure you're ramped up, ready to take it from his store to your backyard and have success right away. So no buyer's remorse. That's not what we're about at Primo. No way. Again, primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. And don't forget, at the dealer, ask about the griddle insert that's coming down the pike. If they don't have it at your dealer, make sure you ask them to put one on hold for you so you can grab it up as soon as it hits the deck. Primogrill.com. Follow them on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram. And we are back with Kent Rollins right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories to complete your pit barrel cooking experience. Whether you're a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell Amber or Noah that the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My first guest in the second hour, known to many as the Chuck Wagon Cook. He has an incredibly popular YouTube channel and fervent audience. He is also a successful author. Many of you have purchased the books in the past called A Taste of Cowboy, back released in 2015, and Faith, Family, and Feast back in 2020. And tonight we're going to be talking about his latest book effort that will be released on March 28th, entitled Comfort Food, The Cowboy Way. I am happy to race back to the hotline and welcome Kent Rollins to the show. Kent, before we dive into the book here this evening, let's take a quick lap around the YouTube track, if you don't mind. Last time you were on the show, you were sitting at 1.62 million subscribers. Now, this was back in April of 2021. And as we fast forward to March 14th, 2023, you're sitting at 2.46 million YouTube subscribers. So, you know, a year and change later, we've amassed a little bit more than 1 million additional YouTube subscribers. So certainly great. What do you think gaining another 1 million YouTube subscribers, when you look back at your content, what's drawing people in to continue to hit that subscribe button?
I think most of all, Greg, it's people want something simple out of life. They want to know that you don't have to have it to be fancy. It doesn't have to be some elaborate recipe to make it good. It's a lot about comfort. It's a lot about classic. It's a lot about maybe adding something you didn't think it fit and making it work. And but also, I think people just like to feel like they're home, and that's why we try to bring that across to them too. It's more than just a cooking show. You know, we got a lot of good dogs and some dancing, and we have a good time every week.
I noticed that not only are you doing what I would call the produced pieces that the channel's probably best known for, but you're also doing a number of live streams. You had just recently done one with some kind of breakfast food, if I'm not mistaken. That was like today. Yeah. Was that today?
No, that was Sunday.
Oh, Sunday, right.
We did what we do, cackleberry bites. That recipe's in the cookbook. It's something that's pretty quick and easy, something that you can do in a muffin pan and make enough of them. You can have them all week long.
When you're doing recorded, that's one thing. You can make a bunch of mistakes. Shannon can edit it out, make it look like $1 million every single time, and a lot of people take advantage of that. But when you're doing a live show, I've been doing live stuff for 15 years now. Anything can happen. Technology, Wi-Fi,
right.
internet connections, the oven doesn't turn on. Who knows? The dog could jump up and steal the food that you're going to be cooking for the show that day. Do you like the who knows what's going to happen aspects of the live broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, I don't never know what I'm going to do, even when we're taping it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen most of the time. Shannon told me one time, she said, I'm going to get you a teleprompter. And I said, yeah, you need to think about that. That ain't going to work too well. But no, I like live. And like Shannon said, it's they're the easiest thing that she can do because she doesn't have to edit. And you get some really good one-on-one conversation right there with people when you're doing a live, but also you get to interact with them and answer some questions. So live is good, better than Memorex. Know what I mean?
I had Sam the Cooking Guy on last week, and we were talking about how, now this is a guy who's got a tremendous amount of YouTube subscribers, almost 4 million. There was a point where it seemed like he was gaining 1 million in less than a year. It was quite a meteoric rise. And I've noticed, as I like to keep tabs with my guests as they're coming on, especially if they're YouTubers, where that growth is continuing to race. And he seems to have dropped off. And I asked him, I said, hey, have you noticed a little bit of a stymie in the growth? And he said, absolutely, because you can't grow at a meteoric rate indefinitely. At some point, you feel you're going to plateau a little bit. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you're not popular anymore or that people don't like you, that this is just the nature of the beast. So when you look at your channel and you see the amount of subscribers that you're continuing to amass, do you still think that you are on the upward trajectory, or do you also see a bit of a flattening?
Well, you know, when we went through COVID, as everybody else did, COVID was a big boost to everything that was online. You know, there would be months that you would, instead of averaging maybe 30,000 people in 28 days for subscribers, you'd be at 65, 70,000 people, you know, and seen it as high as 90,000, you know, and it's sort of leveled off. And then it, what they called, I guess, the after COVID effect took a place and everybody was able to get back outside and do something. You've seen everybody on YouTube, you know, sort of level out. And you get to wondering, what am I doing wrong? Did something not work? We're still cooking the same food. But then it comes and goes. There's spikes up and down. Now, I mean, it's a really good upward trend now. You can always tell when you get a lot of new viewers that are coming on. We did a taco video not long ago, and it was 1 week it was 400,000. In 2 days it was 1.4 million, you know, hits on it. So, and it brings a lot of new people out there to it. It's going to always continue to fluctuate. I don't really think it matters what you got going on at your channel. It's going to be some up and downs all the time.
Kent Rollins joining us here on the show, KentRollins.com, the website. And we'll go ahead and transition, talk a little bit about this beauty right here that hit the deck, which is the new book, Comfort Food, The Cowboy Way. Where does the title come from, Kent?
Well, really, it comes from all the old classic dishes that I grew up with. A lot of what we used to call the old greasy spoon cafes that was scattered out across the countryside, you know, and we ate them a lot when we were younger. And it was some of the most cherished places that people would go. If you could think that you was having date night and you could go to one of these places and get a good meatloaf or something like that, and it was that and a glass of tea and a piece of salted caramel apple pie for $4, well, you was in good shape. You know, things have sure changed like that by time and money, but still the recipes exist. You know, we wanted to relive some of them old favorite spots that people had in diners and restaurants that was in each and everybody's town that might have went by the wayside. You know, they could have closed down many years ago. And a lot of rural places like we live in is, you see a lot of it that is sort of dried up and blown away, you know, and there's not many businesses left, but you still can remember on that corner or this corner what little old greasy spoon cafe or what restaurant was there, and it was some of your favorite foods. So we tried to take that and sort of tune it up a notch, but also with really, I think, the heritage that I had from ranching and cooking with for a lot of good cowboys, but really a Mexican influence too. We use a lot of really good dried chilies and a lot of stuff we cook, but there's also a lot more grilling in this cookbook. So Shan's beautiful pictures and our stories are in there, but there is some great desserts in there as well.
When you're putting together what is in essence a recipe book, the things that I liked about at least the first book and this book, recipes, there's the pictures that you had mentioned, but every so often you take us into a story that you encountered as your time on the range as a chuck wagon cook. And you talk in this book, you talk about the guy, the great lassoer, and then you talk about the cowboy that comes in and sits purposefully in the smoke and tells you the whole life story about fire and correlating it to actual life itself. And those are the things that kind of endear me to a book a little bit more. But when you're doing the recipe part of it, how much testing and making sure that what you're putting on paper is then going to be successfully executed by the end user?
Well, it's there's a lot of it. Some of those recipes were once YouTube videos, so they'd been tried and practiced a little more, but everything was usually done at least twice, sometimes 3 times, and you'd go back through a recipe and Shannon'd catch it and she'd say, I don't know if this is right or not, and we'd go back through it, remake it again. We get really tired of looking at our own food, Greg, but the grandkids, the neighbors, the post office, the vet clinic, the hospital, they really think we're a good cook, so when it comes new cookbook time, they're always ready because they know they're going to get some good samples.
Kent Rollins joining us here on the show. So you are almost officially 3 books into the book writing portion of your career. When you look back at that first book, were you somebody that was going around trying to pitch your idea of the book, or did somebody come to you or multiple people come to you and say, Kent, we like what you're all about, we love the vibe, the theme, and we'd really love you to write a book?
Well, the first book in 2015, it was 2013, I guess, when we did Chop Grill Masters out there in the desert, and
that was 2013?
I think so, pretty close to that, because the book come out in 2015.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought that was like 3 years ago. Oh my God, time is flying.
It was just a little bit more than 3, Greg.
Holy
not much.
Wowee.
And after that show, after it aired the semifinals and the finals, the next day, the phone and the computer blew up. There was all kinds of producers wanting you to do this, that, there, and the other. But one of the best phone calls we ever had was from a lady in New York City named Janice Danu, and she is our book agent now. But she told me, she said, do you have a cookbook? And I said, we have a spiral-bound self-made cookbook, ma'am. And she said, no, I'm talking about, do you have a real cookbook? She said, something that's got a hard cover on it. And I said, no, ma'am. She said, well, we're going to. And she said, you're going to write a proposal. You're going to turn this into me, and we're going to make this good. Now, I think people have probably figured out by now, Greg, I'm a pretty good cook, but I'm a slow typist. But Shan is a great writer, a great producer, and a great editor. All the stories in all 3 of them books are mine. She may change a few words here and there, but it was always great to have her supervision. And they always said, we want to hear it from your voice, Kent. We don't want it to be like somebody else's writing, the first book. And Shan did as much in that book as she has the rest of them, but it's never been just about, can I get this book? We're a team effort, and she puts about 80% in, sometimes more than I do.
Is book writing something, because now that you're technically you're 3 in at this point, with the 3rd one getting ready to be released here in about 2 weeks. Is it something that you like doing, or in some instances, is it a means to an end? In other words, you're able to expose the Kent Rollins brand and the Chuck Wagon Cook and all this other stuff to a new audience that maybe you wouldn't do in the other way?
Well, the first one was intimidating in a way, because it was the first time that we had ever sat down and done this. And Janice, she guided us through the process really well. And, we thought we had turned in a whole cookbook and we done an 82-page proposal, so it gets you get thinking, hey, this is pretty well more than I thought it was going to be. But when they would get it and you'd get it all written out again, and they'd send it back to you and you'd send it back to them, and it went back and forth 4 or 5 times, then you finally realized, this is something that comes from our heart. This is something that we really want. Sure, the YouTube people probably might have been the first people to buy a copy, but then after that, I think it was, a lot of the fans that were from the Food Network, but then just a lot of the people that we met going up and down the road, because we still cooked for a lot of ranches then, but we also catered a lot. So it did open up the gate so we could get more people on board, but it's always a good thing.
When I'm talking to authors that are bringing a book out now, and as we're getting into springtime, this is going to be the influx of new grill masters or established pit masters bringing a new book or their 10th book to market. This is the time we're going to be doing that. And I wonder, as somebody who was a new book writer back in 2013, was there talk back then about pre-sale and all this other stuff that they talk about now, where it almost seems like they want you to push as hard as you, like, sell everything all up front, and then if everything is bought, then we'll go ahead and make more, where I never heard about pre-sale or anything like that. It was, this is the day, now you can go to the bookstore and buy all the books, and if you buy them all, we'll just ship more in.
Yeah, I mean, it was always sort of big, I think, for a publishing company to say, we need pre-orders, we need pre-sale. It was, I think, in a way to them, it's, can you make the New York Times bestseller list? That was a big push at first. And really, to me, that was never a great part of it. It might have been nice to been there, but there's so many other people out there that may probably even read the New York Times to begin with, that might want to read a cookbook. So we still had a lot of sales with our first book, even probably more with the second, but this third one has been more than the other two put together. Wow. And that's a lot due to the YouTube audience that we have, but also it's pretty strong on all our social media platforms. Shannon and them do a great job to get that stuff out, so it is not just hitting one market.
It doesn't seem like this is something that happens all the time anymore, but do you have an associated press tour or milk run that you're going to be doing after the book is released?
Yeah, we'll start about 2 days after it releases. We're partnered up with Yeti, so we're going to hit their store in Chicago, and then we'll go on to Denver, and then it's back to El Segundo, California, and then it's Houston, Dallas, Austin, and then back to Charleston, South Carolina, and then we'll go through Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and then back in Missouri, and there'll be some more to follow. But there's quite a few tours there.
Something you do regularly with the books, or is this the first one?
Well, no, it's the first one. We had a small tour. We went to New York City and did some radio stuff. We did some TV stuff when the first book come out, and we sort of made some places on our own. The second book was released the day they shut the country down because of COVID. So, and they had 7 weeks planned then, and I think 4 different TV appearances. So we thought that was sort of a bad deal, but really it turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Probably great.
Yeah, it was great. And so things worked really well. They do.
Kent Rollins joining us.
Go ahead, Greg. This one coming up, we're going to try to reach more people. We can't hit every place we need to be. You look at the analytics of YouTube, and our biggest states that really contribute to views are California, Florida, and Texas, but not far behind that is North Carolina, South Carolina, and then you get to Wisconsin, Michigan. And I hate to leave any of them people out, but we're gonna try to catch up and get some of them if we can.
So is the locations that you ended up getting the list on that you're going to be going through solely on where the majority of the audience is?
Well, not so much the majority of all of them. I mean, we do have a big following, like I say, in California and Florida. And right now we don't have anything booked in Florida. We're going to look at trying to get something back down that way, maybe, June, July, something like that. But Chicago, Illinois has always been pretty good for us up there. But also we'll leave there and go right back to Ohio at Lehman's Hardware Store in Kidron, Ohio.
Really?
It is probably, Yes.
You
It
ever
is
been
probably
there?
one of the. Oh yes, we've done 3 or 4 deals there already.
Oh, you're kidding.
For them. Yeah.
Dude, Layman's is like, okay, I'm going to steer the ship right into the iceberg here, but if we have to compare Ohio and southeast Ohio, like Cleveland area, I'm going to say this is, far out of the greater metropolitan Cleveland area. So you have Layman's out in Kidron, which is basically an Amish country. So if anybody knows where Canton is, you get on 30, you take it east about 35 minutes, and now you're at Layman's. This hardware store is unbelievable because it's catering to a bunch of different people. You have Berthas in there. You have wood-fired ass stoves that you could put in your house and cook instead of electric or gas. I mean, real wood-fire stove that I've never seen until I got into Layman's. Plus, they have all sorts of live-fire cookers and everything that you need in between. However, there is a rival hardware store. I'm saying rival, but they might actually be owned by the same company. I don't know if you've ever been to Hartville, but there's Hartville Hardware, which is the world's biggest independent hardware retailer. It's huge. They literally have homes in the building themselves, literal homes, full-size homes. So if you've never been there, I got contacts. I can hook you guys up, for future visits or whatever. But, man, to have you at Layman's, it's not necessarily close to me, but that's great.
We've been doing stuff with Glenda for probably 4 years now because we sort of got hooked up with them with certified Angus beef, too, as well, with there in Worcester.
Ohio.
They would sort of get us collaborated together, and CAB's been a sponsor for a long time anyway, so it sort of worked out well for us. But I could spend a lot of time in Layman's. There's a lot of stuff there that I could take home with me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So when you're in person, what are you doing? Signing books, taking pictures, kissing babies, the whole 9 yards?
We'll do a presentation sort of at all of them, but at Layman's, and you can get tickets online for it. I don't know if Glenda's sold out yet or not. We'll do 2 cooking demonstrations, and then they'll pass out food samples to everybody that's there, and then we'll have 2 different book signings because usually that they sell that thing out pretty quick, and there's a lot of folks there.
Kent Rollins joining us here on the show. KentRollins.com is the website. If you would like to go ahead and pre-order this book, you can probably do it wherever books are being pre-ordered right here. You have Comfort Food, The Cowboy Way. All right, Kent, so that's going to be dropping in 14 days. We'll look forward to that, and we'll assume that pre-sales will continue to rise to record levels. So the next book, you're going to have quite the hurdle to get over, but we'll worry about that when you get to that 4th book. Let's transition a little bit, talk about some other live fire topics here that are hot right now. Something you've probably cooked on for 20 years, 30 years, however long. Flat top cookers or griddles. In the last year and a half, they have come to the forefront of popularity. A lot of the biggest names in the live fire grill and barbecue industry are manufacturing these freestanding units. Do you like the fact that this has seen a resurgence in the everyday backyard? And B, do you like cooking on these kind of things?
You know, I watched a lot of them old people in them old greasy spoon cafes. I was talking about Greg so many times, and all they had was a flat top stove and maybe 2 burners on the other side. Everything was thrown on there. I don't care what it was, And to see really a resurgence for that really to come back out, I like it. I've cooked on some for other people, but I've cooked directly on top that old wood stove of mine, Bertha. If I had to, she is a flat top stove all the time anyway. But I think any time that we can have a piece of equipment and like those that come out, them flat tops, and it brings people to the backyard to share food and to bring over family, it's just another added plus for the barbecue world, the cooking world, the food world, and the family world.
When people are coming up to you and saying, Ken, I'm thinking about buying a new grill, or I'm looking for something that can do everything for me, do you tell them, because I'm kind of this mindset, do you tell them, don't worry about trying to jam everything into one package? Why not buy 1, 2, or 3 different things to allow flexibility? How do you handle it?
Well, we've been partnered up with Hasty Bake Grill Company in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a long time. And people asked me, they said, if you could just have one grill, what would it be? And I'd say, if it wasn't no Bertha, which the top comes out of her, and you just throw a piece of, I got a grate that goes on top. I said, for everybody else, I said, get the Legacy grill that they have. I said, it's big enough that you can smoke on it. I said, but it makes a great grill to cook hamburgers, steaks, anything else. And they partnered up with us, and they got to making Bertha stoves for sale. And then we designed our own smoker there that they now have out. And it's done really well. But I'm like you, Greg. I don't think you just need one little grill. You know, I have 3 smokers, 4 grills, 3 Berthas. You know, you can't never have enough. And I don't like for it to be crowded on any grill unless I'm crowding one grill plumb full of 16-ounce bone-in ribeyes or something like that, you know. But you can be cooking one on one thing at a totally different temperature than you're cooking on something else.
In 2023, I've made the guess or proclamation that full-size electric grills are going to be a thing this year. I saw it once towards I guess it was technically introduced around this time last year, and it didn't really see a lot of traction until end of summertime, maybe even getting into the fall. Charbroil had made a full-size electric grill called the Edge, and I said, well, one's out. It's getting pretty good reviews, and you can stick it in an outlet. There doesn't have to be a 220 requirement at this point in order to get it to whatever it needs to do. So I thought everybody else was going to be jumping on board. Haven't really seen that, but would you be a hedger on that bet? Would you take the popularity of full-size electric grills coming into 2023?
Oh, I'll have to say it in 2 ways, Greg. I'm an old-fashioned stick burner most of the time, and you know, I've never depended on electricity to get me by. But I know my brother has an electric smoker, and I'd never seen one in my life before I went down there and seen his 8 or 9 years ago. And I think they're going to own an electric grill because they like something that's quick. They like something that they can also take with them because if them things are portable enough, you take them to the lake with you, plug them in, you know, you're ready to go. So I think they will do some good in popularity as it gets out in the countryside, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Do you see any trends happening here over the next 6 to 8 months that we should be keeping an eye out on?
I see a lot more people really have went to a really good pure hardwood lump. You know, I've discouraged people off briquettes forever. And I've noticed a lot of people that come through us or come by us, I'll put it that way, they want to know a good, really clean hardwood lump, you know, or I don't have a chainsaw. I'm not able to cut wood and fire something up, you know. So hardwood lump has been out there a long time, but I think it will get stronger, in my opinion, if people, I mean, they're really cooking people that want to get authentic flavor and taste.
Kent Rollins is joining us here on the show. KentRollins.com, his website. Of course, you can subscribe to him over on the YouTube page, which 2.46 million of you have already done. Okay, let me ask you a couple other questions here before I let you go tonight, and I appreciate the time. We can make it a little personal here. Let's make it a little personal here.
All right.
You are unabashed at talking about how you are partnered both in love and life with your wife, Shannon, and that obviously you guys are also paired up to some degree in the business aspect of Kent Rollins. She's helping you get the name out. She's part of the brand and all that stuff. What's it like working with your wife and then also being around your wife and, you know, all that stuff? There's some people seem to enjoy having a little separation and go to a job, or maybe they're on the road for a week or whatever, and they come back to the wife, this, that, and the other thing. But there doesn't seem to be a overwhelming pull to want to be in business with somebody that they're around all the time. How do you make it work?
Well, I tell people, Greg, I'm the luckiest man in the world. I really am. I get to wake up every morning and do exactly what I want to do every day. Me and Shan work side by side 365 days a year. And I guess we hadn't ever got tired of seeing each other. I will take that back. One time, we'd shot 3 videos in one day, and she does all the editing, and I come in about 9 o'clock that evening and walk by the computer, and I said, "How's it going?" She said, "I'm really getting tired of looking at you." So I really didn't know how to take that at first, but she's a great inspiration to me because she she sort of brings out the best. But also when I bring to her is, hey, I'm very, very optimistic. The glass is always half full. It's always going to be a better day tomorrow than it was yesterday. And every day is a great day above the grass. So we have a really good time. I mean, she is so business savvy, computer wise and everything else. So it really fits well.
What do you have coming up that we can look forward to aside from the book drop?
Well, we'll be in Lebanon, Missouri, a great event that we do every year. It's on Memorial Day weekend. It's called Wagons for Warriors. There will be about close to 30 chuck wagons there. You can get a ticket and eat off every wagon, a little sample, and all the money goes to pretty close to around Fort Leonard Wood area to help with PTSD and everything else that servicemen and women out there might need.
Ken, if somebody's tuning in here tonight for the first time and they see this guy with the plaid shirt, the cowboy hat, the mustache, and he's got the talk like you got, is there any way to prove that this isn't a put on, that you are 100% cowboy and this is you through and through?
I've been the same person every day for as far as I can remember. I remember a lady at the Food Network told me one time, she said, "You're the only person I've ever seen in my life that you didn't change when the camera come by." I said, "Hell, ma'am, I ain't changed socks in a week. I don't know what you think I'd be changing people for, you know." So I grew up in Hard Knocks University. You know, my dad taught us that it's about a lot of work, a lot of sweat, but it's going to pay you off in the long run. He said, "Get a job, do it well, do it better than everybody else. You'll never have a job." So, you know, I'm not out to prove anything except who I am is what I am.
The new book is coming out in 14 days. It is Comfort Food, The Cowboy Way, and look for it wherever books are sold. Pre-order now, so it will hit your door when it is released. Kent, really appreciate the time tonight, catching up.
Oh, thank you, bud.
Continued success, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, Greg, so much. God bless everyone.
There he is, Kent Rollins right there. Hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. I found it to be completely enthralling, of course. And, again, truly authentic. What you get, what you see is what you get. Great answers. And if you're looking or you've been waiting for Kent's new book to come out, you only got about 14 more days to go ahead and pre-order if you haven't already. Wherever books are sold, go to Amazon if you want, or you can go to his website, which I think I even have right here. Yeah, there it is. So you can go ahead and pre-order the book. And there's the book tour. Look at that. Chicago, Kidron, Ohio, El Segundo, Denver, Dallas, Austin, Houston, OKC, Tulsa, and Charleston, South Carolina. Get that book. Absolutely. Last read of the evening, and then I will do a quick note of thanks to this past weekend and the folks that I ran into, and then we'll call it a night here this evening. Since 1991... the National Barbecue and Grilling Association has been the voice of the industry, helping members network and learn from proven professionals. Leader Cal Phelps looks to take the history of this organization, move it into the new heights of 2023 and beyond. And they kicked it all off with their National Barbecue and Grilling with the National Barbecue and Grilling Association's annual conference. Everybody is still raving about it, buzzing. I'm getting notes from folks that were on the schneid going, you know what? I'm one back over. Cal has done it. He's put together the right people. He's taking in the right direction, bringing on the right folks to help grow this thing in the right way and make it more popular, raise membership. Everybody support Cal. Hashtag Cal, yeah, of course. So, yeah, let's go. So, if you're in the business of barbecue, or if you just want to be a member, maybe you sell trucks during the day like me, but you want to be a member of the NBBQA. Go to the website, nbbqa.org. Check out all the information about membership, how you might be able to support them. And then attend regional conferences, attend that annual conference. Now, if you're a member and you can't attend those conferences because you have something else that's conflicting, the good news is this. Cal videotaping everything. So once they get it edited down, put it up on the website, you have access to that as a member. So if you can't make it live in person, you can get it all on the replay. Perfect. nbbqa.org. That's nbbqa.org. And you can sign up, become a member, and pick the brain of the most influential, smart, and successful people in the live fire industry. NBBQA.org. We are back right after this. Stick around.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. We thank Kent Rollins for joining us for an extended interview segment there as we waded into the 35 past the hour segment, but great conversation, so no problems with that as we update the YouTube question of the week or poll of the week. 64% of you are still saying no, that you don't think I hate Traeger products and all. 36% of you are saying that I do, and I've lost a percentage of satisfaction over the last time we checked that, but we'll check it again here in about 5 or 6 minutes or so. If you're just joining us and you heard that we were talking to Kent Rollins, make sure that you get the podcast on Thursday when it's released, and make sure you go and pre-order his book over on Amazon called Comfort Food the Cowboy Way. There it is. And if you're in the greater Cleveland metropolitan area and or about, if you're in the Cleveland area, Kidron is probably an hour and 35 minutes, hour and 40 minutes. I'm not, depending on when it is, I don't know what the date is for layman's. If I'm in town and I have nothing going on, there's a pretty good chance I might poke out there or try to get on-site interview. Why not? Double them up. Now, if I have something else going on, I'm screwed. But if I'm available, why not? And I'll make that connection here. Uh-oh, wait a second. I have a thought. Because I'm a fan of Hartville Hardware, no shade on Layman's. And again, I think Hartville Hardware might actually own Layman's, but I might be way off on that. So I say this allegedly, reportedly, assumingly, but I can't tell that for sure. Because I'm a avid fan of the Grill Fest, which is happening again, 2023 Grill Fest at Hartville Hardware. Can you imagine? We could put together live demos, BBQ. And then how about this guy? What about this? Potentially. Sam the cooking guy. Huh? Wait, what about this guy? Kent Rollins, the chuck wagon cook. And what about this guy? No shade on the women. I'm just coming up with men. Mike Lang from Another Pint, please. What a lineup. BBQ, Sam, Kent, Mike. It would draw the most people ever. And I know all of those people. So interaction would go well as we're doing the live cooking demo. I got to email Steve directly and let him know that we should be trying to execute contracts at a very quick level here, or a very quick rate, and on a very high level. He's going to be like, yeah, well, to bring everybody in, we got to ace you out, Chief. Forget it what I said, Steve. Forget it. Let's not do that. I like hosting. That would be great. As I had mentioned, this past weekend over at HPBExpo in Louisville, Kentucky, and what did we learn? There's an outside burn area, and Louisville in mid-March, not good.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Freezing on Friday. It was worse on Saturday. I left Saturday at 3 o'clock because I got everything I needed to do out of the way. And then I got a message from Ted Conrad at Fireboard. He said they stayed through Monday because the show went through Monday. Even worse on Monday. How could it be worse than it was on Saturday? It was freezing outside. Literally, it was in the 30s. I mean, if you weren't Tyson Traeger with your timber stoves, you were freezing your ass off out there. I mean, it was uncomfortable. And I felt bad for everybody out there exhibiting because they all had the look of like, it's cold. They wanted to lay on their flat tops and their grills just to warm up. So the weather was, for the outside portion, was not good. The inside, I thought, was pretty well attended. I didn't go last year to give a full retrospective as Max did, but he said it was not that great last year, much better this year. The folks at HPBA that I interviewed said that they had rebounded nicely into this year. Want to say hello, and I want to say thank you to all the gang at Fireboard. They were there exhibiting outside. Ooh. Ted Conrad, who's been on the show many times. I also met his business partner, Steve Brigman, for the first time. Steve, an excellent human being, very smart guy, very gregarious, loved being around him. And also their coworker, Jeff Nichols, was there, and we went out to dinner on Saturday night. I think I might have leveraged them into taking me to dinner instead of them wanting to take me to dinner, but I worked it out. And we had a great time in some bar where we had some pizzas, like flatbreads and stuff, and just yucked it up, got to know each other a little bit more personally, but all great human beings looking to take Fireboard to the next level. Of course, I'm asking Ted about wireless thermometering, how that's going to happen. Did an interview with him outside as we were both freezing. That'll air here over the next week or two, so hear his reaction to that. But Ted, Steve, and Jeff, wonderful to meet everybody in person. So I met everybody in person for the first time. Obviously, I've talked to Ted many times, but great meeting everybody else there. And got a Fireboard Spark for that 12-hour round tripper, so I appreciate that. I've already used it, and it works right, the instant read meat thermometer portion of that. But I took out one of my probes, stuck it in there, and immediately it turns into a one-channel Fireboard, just like that, just like they say. So well worth the money there. Now, as an added bonus, if you can believe this, can you believe this? At the Fireboard booth, pitmaster of Burnt Finger Barbecue, Megan Day, was there. Can you believe it? What a pistol this broad is. Unbelievable. I mean, she is a delight. She's cooking all kinds of food. They got the burnt finger sauce and the rub. There was a new rub. Oh, I forgot to bring the bottle down. I would have showed it's a bacon rub, which she said blows any other bacon rub out of the water right now because there's no fakeness. It's the real bacon flavor that you've always wanted in a bacon rub. They have all the sauces out there, of course. They were cooking these huge sausages. She was doing chicken wings. Had some great samples out there. Their burnt finger barbecue products are great. Jason Day, her husband, obviously. And they were, back in the day, the creators of the bacon explosion, which really exploded them onto the national scene. And, well, what they're still probably best known for is, for that pinnacle moment. But, man, it was great to meet Megan for the very first time. And, again, what a personality on her. Just really great and fun to be around. But what a business-savvy mind. We had a lot of very keen business talks between us and how we operate and what we're looking to do for business and how we are both do stuff for free in the barbecue community. We don't agree with that, not at all. We want people to know their worth and charge, absolutely. So, Megan, great to meet you. I'm glad you hung out with the folks over at Fireboard and was able to make your acquaintance. And then, who did I meet? Somebody that you probably don't know the name of, but one of the biggest, if not the biggest gas grill manufacturer, period, in the whole world from Winter Products. My pal and somebody else who I met in person for the first time, James Hope, was up in it. And we got to talk extensively about the business, trends that we see coming up, projects that they're working on, people they're working with. Wow, I mean, what a great conversation that I had with James over an extended period of time. Was able to make a little introduction to him and the folks at Fireboard in person. They had talked outside just on phone, maybe Zoom or something like that. So wonderful to meet James. I appreciate the insight he has lent me since early 2021 when he first reached out during the pandemic. So, James, great to meet you. And then, who did I meet? Somebody that reached out to me on LinkedIn. Somebody who's got a new product that he's bringing to market. Greg Koch from Talon Claw Cookware. Talon, like, Talon. What? Did I just do that? I'm sorry. Talon Claw Cookware. So if you go to bbqcookware.com, the best I can explain it to the podcast audience is cast iron square cooking dishes, and then it's got what looks like a Talon claw, and it clips down onto the side, so you don't have to pick it up with your hands or leather gloves or anything like this. You just clip down, and now you can transfer it. You can twirl it around, take it off the grills, take it out of the ovens. I think the concept is really good. He's just starting out. If you're an angel investor, you're looking to sink some money somewhere, I would say Greg is a guy. He's a guy that's been in the restaurant industry for a number of years, and now he's really taken this Talon Claw thing to market, trying to make it a success. So if you want to check it out, bbqcookware.com. I'm supposed to be getting a sample here at some point here over the next week or so, so I'll make sure that I post about that so you can see it if you don't end up going to the website before that. And what can I tell you? How about this? I was stopped on multiple occasions as I'm walking the inside portion of the show. Unsolicited, people I don't know, fans of the show who are telling me, I heard the last episode with you and Sam, and we really like your banter. We really like the way you guys interacted with each other the last segment. That might have been the most popular segment Sam and I have ever done. Like 20 different people. Hey, you're the guy, Barbecue Central guy. Yeah. Love the last Sam the Cooking Guy segment that you did. So, happy that it went over well. Really still uncomfortable with people stopping me and going, we listened to the show. Again, I'm consistently operating under the impression that I am just talking into this microphone and going out into the internet, and nobody is actually listening or hearing this. Now, the numbers would prove otherwise, but my mind can't comprehend that. So when people stop me and say, hey, I know you, or happy to meet you, or something along these lines, it still blows my mind. So I'm really appreciative. And if you ever stop me, I have as much time as you need, 1 second. If I offend you, or an hour, whatever you want to spend, if you see me, stop me. Would love to say hi and meet you in person, absolutely, because without you guys, this show doesn't happen, and that's the bottom line there. So that's a quick recap. I do have, I think, 6, maybe 7 interviews that I got with a number of the bigger manufacturers out there, all with top men and women in the industry for their respective companies. Do a little editing maybe Thursday and Friday, and then I'll go ahead and start releasing those. And it's probably not going to be Friday because we're going to Indy Friday. Yeah! Party for 2 at St. Elmo's. Party for 2, St. Elmo's, 9 p.m. See you there. Going to be taking in some succulent dry-aged steaks there at St. Elmo's. Maybe a shrimp cocktail if I'm feeling froggy, but it will melt your face off. But I'll get those bonus contents into the podcast feed so you can hear all from the manufacturers. And again, we got some pretty good business lines in as well. Might be able to bring on some pretty big sponsors that I think I can help with the show as far as name recognition, and they can help me further grow the show with their support as well. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, let's go ahead and make tracks out of here. All the way back in the first hour, who did we have? It was Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, and we talked about artificial intelligence and how it can be disrupting your business if, what? You are relying on search engines to drive traffic to your website, because now it's not going to be a search mentality, it's going to be an ask mentality. And how is that going to list sources? And is it going to list links and all of this other stuff? Who knows? Then it was Max Good from AmazingRibs.com, and we talked about his experience at HPBExpo and things that he liked, didn't like. And then it was Kent Rollins taking the balance of the second hour as I close it out with a quick recap of HPBExpo 2023 from my perspective. Big show planned for you next week, of course. Can't wait for that. September, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Jeff Stone of Grandpa's Pride Barbecue from the Panhandle of Florida, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.